Kush, please be on the stage. A very good morning. कार्य में परमात्मन हो तू आप सहाय, अपने आशीष दीजिए, मंगल हाथ बढ़ाए. With the blessings of Almighty, this is Dr. Punita Goyal welcoming you on behalf of MIT University Uttar Pradesh to the 6th International Conference 2023 on Business Transformation for Sustainable Entrepreneurship and Value Creation, organized by MIT College of Commerce and Finance in association with ACCA, Association of Chartered Certified Accountants UK, and our knowledge partners, Middlesex University, Dubai, Goldsmiths University of London, UK, our sustainability partner, UNDP India, and with the support of our sponsors, Indian Oil, Mindverse, Papernest, and Ball Pen Media Private Limited. We are truly honored to have with us Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi, Head of Action for Climate and Environment, UNDP India, as our chief guest for the conference. We feel extremely delighted to have with us Dr. Alex Marks, Deputy Director, Center for Global Governance Studies, University from Leuven, Belgium. As a prominent keynote speaker, he will be joining us online. We are also joined by Dr. Srijit Balasubramaniam, Associate Professor, Business School, Chair, Office of Research, Head, Center for Supply Chain Excellence, Middlesex University, Dubai. We extend our hearty welcome to Ivan Zupik, Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship, Goldsmiths University, London. We also have Dr. Mohammad Rula, Associate Professor, Kingston Business School, Kingston University, London, again who will be joining us online. And we also have Mr. Kush Ahuja from ACCA, Head ACCA, India. I also welcome all the deans, heads of different institutions from MIT University, all delegates, all guests from UNDP and industry, participants of the conference, faculties and students on this auspicious occasion of this international conference being organized on the theme of sustainability, innovation, diversity, inclusion and integration. Let's all give a big round of applause to all the guests. As we gather here for the inauguration ceremony, let us commence this auspicious occasion with the lighting the lamp, symbolizing the dispelling of darkness and ushering of knowledge and wisdom. I request all the dignitaries on the dais to please do the honors. As we illuminate this lamp, let us also invoke the blessings of Goddess Saraswati, the embodiment of wisdom, knowledge, and the art. May her divine presence grace our proceedings and inspire us to our quest for learning and innovation. Now I request Dr. Sujata Khandai, Director, MIT College of Commerce and Finance and Chairperson of the International Conference, to give an introduction to the conference and welcome the esteemed guest.
Good morning. Dr. ICACCF2023, Mr. Kush Ahuja, Dr. Srijit, Dr. Ivan Zupic, Bandyopadhyay sir, my colleagues on the dais, my friends and colleagues from other institutions, and my dear students. For us, it's an opening, a beginning. We are starting on a journey today. So on behalf of Honorable Founder President Sir, Chancellor Sir, and Vice Chancellor Ma'am, who wish to be present but could not be because we have a convocation in Lucknow today, I welcome each one of you to this momentous occasion, truly. Because the journey that we are starting on today, embarking on, is going to be fruitful and productive. That's in our hearts. And that's something we would like to convey to each one of you. As you're aware, we have been deluged, we are all aware, and we are reading about it every day, that we are deluged by severe and very complex environmental and social problems. And that's a reason why you see in the newspapers, on the media, on social media platforms, there is a perpetual public and political discourse on how to face these challenges. We are finding new ways we are trying to find out new ways to face these challenges, but it is daunting. And that is where entrepreneurship probably will play a very, very important role. We are looking at entrepreneurship to play a most important role because entrepreneurship will set up their new businesses, right? And they have the onus on them to set up sustainable business models which will ensure that their operations will result in a level of sustainability and sustainable value creation. And hence this conference. As academicians, we have some kind of role to play in bringing about some development in society, and that's the reason why this conference was engineered, was thought of, which will bring together over the next 2 days academicians and thought leaders who will deliberate over these pertinent issues and will try to provide a comprehensive understanding of the intersection between sustainability, entrepreneurship, and societal values. I hope all of you, including the students, we have a lot of good sessions planned out for you, and of course our delegates and my friends and colleagues will participate in, if not all the sessions, in a few pertinent sessions. We have two very interesting sessions. One is by UNDP. They are having a panel discussion and a workshop on sustainability reporting. And there's another interesting session by Dr. Ivan Zupic on sustainable entrepreneurship. We hope that many of you, in addition to attending the tracks, the technical sessions, you will also attend these two sessions. I'm hoping my students will definitely benefit from it. Thank you once again for being with us and looking forward, and please have a great 2 days. Welcome once again, and thank you.
Now I request our ma'am to please present the guest and the dignitaries with a small token of gratitude and appreciation. This is a time we felicitate our guest for the day. I request Dr. Bandyopadhyay to join. First, we present to our chief guest, Dr. ICACCF2023. Give a big round of applause, everybody. He's the head action for climate and environmental UNDP India. Thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time for this conference. Thank you so much. Now we request to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Kush Ahuja from ICACCF. Mr. Kush Ahuja from ICACCF. Please give a big round of applause to all the dignitaries. Now we have a special guest, Dr. Srijit Balasubramaniam from Middlesex University, Dubai. They are our knowledge partners for this conference, Middlesex University, Dubai. And we wholeheartedly thank Mr. Srijit for doing all the effort along with us for making this conference happen here at this time. Thank you, Dr. Srijit. Now I request ma'am and sir to felicitate Dr. Ivan Zupik from Goldsmith University of London. Goldsmith is also our knowledge partner. Dr. Ivan has been always very helpful and graceful in always supporting us in all our endeavors. And we have been learning from his great learning experience and insights. Thank you, ma'am. I request Sujata ma'am to now felicitate our dear sir, D.K. Bandyopadhyay sir, Chief Advisor to FPO and Chairman, Amity Law School. Please, sir, please accept. Dr. Narula has also joined us online. We also facilitate all our guests who have joined us online. Thank you, Dr. Narula, for joining us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute honor to have distinguished figure among us today as our chief guest, Mr. Ashish Chaturvedi, Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi, Head Action for Climate and Environment, UNDP India. Dr. Ashish has been working on the topics of environment, climate change, and circular economy in India for over 18 years. His core expertise is in community-based adaptations, waste management, sustainable consumption, production, and environment policy. Before UNDP, he has worked with research institutions and consultancies, most recently as Director of Climate Change and Circular Economy with the GIZ, the agency responsible for implementing Indo-German Technical Cooperation. He has been involved in drafting the policies and guidelines at the sub-national and national levels and supported the implementation of major schemes and programs of Government of India. Dr. Ashish is an avid action researcher and has published extensively in books, journals, and general interest magazines. He holds a PhD in economics from University of California, and his academic training has been in the field of political economy. With great pleasure, I invite Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi to share his valuable insights on this conference theme with the audience. Dr. Ashish, please.
Good morning, everyone, and delighted to be here. Dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Bandyopadhyay, colleagues from Amity University, dignitaries of the dais, and dear students. I'm actually quite delighted to be here because this reminds me of the time that I used to teach in the University of California in the US. I had these kinds of auditoriums full of students where I was teaching a class on global economy. And there were more than 400 students, and we would lecture in front of those students. And of course, the students right at the back would need to be reminded occasionally to pay attention, but that's not, I hope I don't have to do that anymore during my 10 minutes of remarks today. So, I think the conference's topic is, of course, really interesting and topical, and you've already heard from your own professor on why it is important to start thinking about sustainability and in business transformation. If you go back a little in time, and sort of the history of this entire dimension of sustainability is not very old, and it is sort of kind of inextricably linked to the Industrial Revolution. So the COP just ended. The Conference of Parties, it's called the COP, so that's the acronym. The 28th edition of the Conference of Parties on climate change just ended in Dubai. Now, the big discussion there was on how to phase out or how to transition our economies away from fossil fuels. Now, this all started with the Industrial Revolution roughly 150 years ago, well, 170 years ago. And of course, since then, we've actually found that our lives are completely entrenched with fossil fuels. Every decision that you make today, every buying decision, every consuming decision, every decision that you make on where to go for holidays, what gift to give, how to travel to work, anything, what food to eat, what clothes to wear, everything is somehow related to emissions. So, and emissions of carbon dioxide which are related to burning of fossil fuels. So that is how embedded greenhouse gas emission is and fossil fuels have become in our lives, right? So now sort of if you start thinking about how from the Industrial Revolution till now, our fixation with fossil fuels has become the mainstay of our economies, what it has also meant is that we've actually mined in all kinds of strange areas where things that we shouldn't be mining, we've mined. And if you look at the map of India, you would see that there is a great amount of overlap between forest areas and mining areas. If you look at the map of India and you look at the mining areas in this country, there is a complete overlap between forest areas and mining areas. And what that has meant is that we've actually played around with our biodiversity. We've played around with our forests. We've played around with our species. So there is something called the Convention of Biological Diversity, which is not as famous as the climate change conferences, but that happens every 2 years. And that is a potent reminder of what are we doing with our biodiversity and how are we losing our species. Now, the private sector is in the thick of these things. 60% of the global economy is now, global GDP comes from the private sector. A large part of our day-to-day lives are dependent on what we buy, what we consume, and most of it is produced by the private sector. So the private sector is a very important stakeholder in the global economy. At the flip side, 50% of our GDP also comes from nature. We draw from nature for our raw materials. Where do all the mines come? Where do you get all the raw materials from? Where do you get your copper from? Where do you get your coal from? You actually get it from nature. Where do you get your cotton from? Most of our raw materials come from nature. Most of our production is based out of materials which come from nature, right? So 60% of the global economy, GDP, is private sector. 50% of it is also based on biodiversity. So look at the overlap, right? So therefore, business has to become a very critical stakeholder if you really want to try and think about alternative pathways towards sustainability. Now, Government of India is doing a lot in this area. Whether it is enough or not, I think all of you will discuss it over the next couple of days. What more can be done can be discussed over the next couple of days as well. But what are frameworks which already exist? So we have something called the BRSR, the Business Reporting and Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, which is a very sort of comprehensive framework. And some of your professors here are actually trying to make it better. UNDP is also contributing to make it better and much more effective. Now, what does that essentially mean? It basically means that businesses should start talking about how they're responsible for affecting environment and sustainability. What kind of impact does business have on sustainability? What kind of impact does business have on biodiversity? And I think we need these frameworks, and especially in a management school, we need to start thinking sort of about how, when you go and work for businesses, either on the production or the consumption side, or on the reporting or the assurance side, you can start thinking very clearly about the impact of your business, in whatever shape or form, on local sustainability, and of course, national and international frameworks. So I would like to basically implore and request you to remain committed to this entire idea of sustainability as you go forward in your pursuit, in your future pursuits, whether it is in the private sector, whether it is in academia, whether it is in civil society or think tanks, whether it is in the UN. You will all be making very important decisions about your life and career in the next few years. Now, what is important is that you also remain active environmental citizens, that you also become global citizens who care about sustainability in significant ways, because if it's not you, who else? This is the critical decade of action on biodiversity, on climate, on sustainability, and very broadly on sustainable development goals. The sustainable development goals, the first milestone and the most important one is in 2030. Most of you would be in your late 20s or early 30s by then. Most of you. Or I'm assuming an average age of around 19 or 20, right? So you would be in 7 years, you will be 26, 27, 28, 30 maybe, right? You will be starting your lives as professionals. You would be making big consumption choices at that moment. As we stand in 2023, we know that we are way off target to achieve the sustainable development goals. We are way off target. We are not going to meet most of our sustainable development goals. So this is halfway mark. Therefore, these next 7 years are extremely critical. And you, as strong voices, as representing youth, as representing the new generation, can actually take the mantle forward. And of course, we will be cheering for you. We will be supporting you. We will be working closely with you. And I think this is my offer. And therefore, for the next 2 days, I implore you to actually delve deep. Like you're doing maybe as part of your core curriculum. But delve deep into the topic. You have this great opportunity. You should be thankful to your professors for organizing this conference here. You can delve deep. You can ask questions. You can raise doubts. You can say, why are we here? You should ask those questions. And then how do we go forward from here? I think this is fundamental to accelerating change and achieving progress. And of course, as part of the UN family, we are happy to work with you. We are happy to work with your university and with all your professors and also embark on a journey where we can accompany you as we go forward. Because for us, the Sustainable Development Agenda is pivotal to make the big transformations that we need in our economy and in our societies. And of course, very important also for all of you as young people to be aware that you matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, a very, very beautiful insight. When the policymakers like UNDP with Government of India, the business and the academics join together, definitely we can really make a mark. And we are here, all of us, to join together to achieve the target of UNDP goal 2030, the first target. And then you really pointed out the right thing, the role of the environmentally aware citizens. So this is what we are trying to make here, the difference, and at least make our students aware that how they are responsible to make it more sustainable. Thank you so much, sir. It is with great pride and honor that I welcome our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Kush Ahuja, who is Associate Director at ICACCF. His current role builds on over 11 plus years of experience working for ICACCF, where he has worked in corporate relations, business development, and new projects to contribute towards the accountancy profession. He is also focused on developing partner networks and stakeholder relationship to support upcoming professional accountants in India. Mr. Kush is a chartered accountant and holds an MBA from Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, specializing in finance and marketing. He has a keen interest in strategy, investments, and marketing. His work experience spanning 22 years, ranging from consulting with Pricewaterhouse, retail banking with Citibank in Mumbai, business development for HDFC mutual funds in India and in the Middle East. I request Mr. Kush to please give the remarks for the conference.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Oh, that's a very dull start. Good morning, everyone. That's much better. I hope I've woken some of you up. It's a privilege to be here at the International Conference on Business Transformation for Sustainable Entrepreneurship and Value Creation. I'm playing my part. I'm not using any paper. I congratulate Amity University for this conference on such an important topic. Representing ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, I'm here to delve into this topic that resonates deeply with our global ethos. At the outset, sustainability isn't something that we do in addition to our business. So for all the entrepreneurs out there, budding entrepreneurs, accountants, this is all for you, professional finance people in the future. Sustainability isn't something that we do in addition to our business. It should be how we do our business in the first place. How do we weave sustainability for better profits, for better responsibility towards our stakeholders and the environment? These are key things to understand. There are some lessons here, like I said, for entrepreneurs as well as existing businesses. And you as future finance professionals and accountants have a very important role to play within this. As a fact, ACC as a body devotes significant resources towards research into this very domain. So let's talk about how do we make this happen. So let's see that there's a story that's unfolding right now. Picture a world where investors and stakeholders are no longer looking at just financial statements, right? But they're equally concerned whether or not your company's environmental and social impact is being accounted for. How many people over here in accounting and finance? Can I see a show of hands? Yes. So you're doing financial statements. Very soon you will also need to look at the environmental impact. And it is the finance people that the external parties, stakeholders all rely upon. So this demand for sustainability assurance is a testament to this shift. For instance, it is now a possibility more than ever that a corporation may face investors' backlash for inadequate sustainability disclosures. This scenario underscores the need for us to talk about sustainability assurance practices, where ethics, quality management, and professional judgment, these are not just buzzwords, but essential tools that we have in our arsenal. Looking at what can the wider governments, etc., across the globe can do, tax systems as an example, I'm just taking a small example here, they can be powerful catalysts for sustainability development. Progressive tax incentives, for instance, have shown that this is a significant potential in boosting investments for renewable energy. This demonstrates that when the tax systems are aligned with our sustainability goals, they can drive meaningful change, guiding us towards a more equitable and environmentally conscious world. As we delve deeper into sustainability, the role of finance professionals will become increasingly even more complex. So for all the budding finance professionals here, need to focus on this. What are the capabilities that you are looking to develop now so that you are relevant when you qualify? This is the biggest question that you can ask yourself. Think ahead is what ACCS says. You need to be relevant when you qualify, and one of the foremost expectations of you as professionals in the future is to be ethical. So ethical challenges abound, and even in sustainability, there is a big challenge. For example, there's a risk of greenwashing. What is greenwashing? Companies might face scrutiny for overstating their environmental initiatives, highlighting the need for integrity and transparency when we are doing sustainability. not just there for corporate giants, it's there for new corporates as well. As a matter of fact, this could be one of the strategies that if you're a new corporate and you are, you are environmentally savvy, this can be a way to attract investments. Now, as professional accountants driving this sustainability or as entrepreneurs, you are in a position where you can uniquely influence and guide these practices within organizations. Your expertise in financial stewardship, risk management, and strategic planning makes you an integral part of how you can play a role in embedding sustainability into the very business model itself. So lastly, in conclusion, when I look at this, sustainability, entrepreneurship, and value creation, these three are totally linked. And as we navigate this transformative journey, let's remember the diverse roles that we're going to be playing in the future. And whether it is through enhancing this assurance, tax systems, ethical complexities, or embedding sustainability as a part of our business practices or strategies, our collective efforts are the ones that are going to help in making a sustainable and prosperous future. I thank you today for your attention, and I look forward to some enriching discussions and insights that this conference is undoubtedly going to bring. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kush Ahuja, for your valuable insights. Definitely, the students need to learn how to weave the business, sustainability into the business strategies, and then how the business is responsible towards the different stakeholders. And the students have been working on different projects based on CSR and sustainability, and I hope they will continue to do that, looking at how much it is required in the industry to be industry ready. Now I would request our dear Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay, Chief Advisors to FPU and Chairman, Amity Law School, to address the audience. He is a multifaceted scholar, academician, and administrator. He is a visionary leader in India's education community, a gold medal in his master's degree, a PhD in computer application, has spent 45 years of career doing what he does best. Dr. Bandyopadhyay has over 70 research contributions and has taught various Indian and global management students in various countries like Canada, France, UK, Germany, Sweden, and Thailand. The list goes on. So I hand over the mic to sir.
Thank you. Nita, thank you very much. There's a proverb. The proverb says, well begun is half done. Now, when I say well begun is half done, because we see the persons from UNDP, Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi, who is working on action for climate and environment. We see Kush Ahuja from ACCA India. We also see Dr. Srijat Balasubramaniam from Center of Supply Chain, Middlesex University. We also see Dr. Muhammad Nurullah, Department of Accounting, Finance and Informatics, Kingston University, London, online, and the list goes on. And they are the people who are actually helping us to develop the narratives. Narratives for creating new enterprises. Now, if we just look at why enterprises was created, if you look at the history, and everything came up with the industrial revolution. So first industrial revolution, if we just look at converting masses power to machines power, the boiler engine. Second revolution came where there was a mass productions. So it helped different entrepreneurs to come forward to utilize this technology and to create different enterprises. For what? Enterprises for providing the goods and services for the benefit of the mankind. They were doing business. Profit was the bottom line. That's how many organizations, they grew up during the first and second industrial revolutions. Now we could see the characteristics as an entrepreneur. 3 P's: perspiration, perseverance, and patience. The third generation, when it came, we could see it very eminently. These 3 qualities of the entrepreneurs to create enterprises, they all struggle. Whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Google, whether it is Infosys, whether it is HCL, you name enterprises, they all struggled and created the enterprises for the service to the mankind, for the benefit of the mankind. So the entrepreneurs is all the time looking forward for exploiting the technology to create goods and services and to create values to the society. This is the fundamental requirement, we could see that. And fourth industrial revolution, we could see that. But side by side, there was another revolution was going on. If we just look at the history, what was the revolution? That when they were using it, they were using all natural resources for the production of the goods and services. Now, natural resources has its own limitations. Those limitations essentially someday will come, which will get depleted. Then if they deplete it, then how these businesses could be run? How the goods and services which are needed by the mankind for enhancing their quality of life, that's a value creation, how it will continue. So this revolution was going on side by side. Why it necessitated us? All of us know as management student, the climate change. Now, this concept of the climate change, when it came, I could recollect one of the very finest words from our honorable founder president. He says, you asked American President Biden, you asked UK Chief Minister, you asked India's Prime Minister, and you asked me, what is the greatest problem of today? And everybody in unison will say climate change and global warming. Now, why this climate change, global warming is coming? That's how Ashish Chaturvedi was talking about. That's how my previous speaker, Kush, was also talking about. So, I certainly, on behalf of the entire Amity universe, welcome them for helping to develop different types of narratives. That's what I'm using it to arrest that climate change, to arrest the global warming. And it is predicted that if we are not able to arrest the greenhouse gases, popularly known as GHS, the temperature will shoot up to 2.7 degrees centigrade, and when it goes there, many of the countries, many of the islands will be under the water. Glaciers will be melting. There will be unpredictable rainstorms and cyclones and typhoons and so on and so forth. There will be no end of it. So that side by side, those narratives also developed. And that's how UN body came forward. And starting with 1992 Kyoto Protocol, the Committee on Parties got formed, and only recently, 1 or 2 days before, that COP28 meeting took place. What Ashish was talking about. 1 point agenda. That agenda is how to reduce the global warming. To restrict the global warming up to 1.5 degrees centigrade. We cannot allow the temperature to go up. Then what do? We have to restrict the emission of the greenhouse gases. Now, most of the present day enterprises, if we look at, they are not that much bothered, because the way they have created the procedure, the structure, the systems and processes are attuned for the production of the greenhouse gases. We are using computers. Do you know how much electricity we are consuming in totality? Where from that energy comes? The This all energy comes either from fossil fuel. Very few megawatts are being created. Percentage of megawatt is created, although India has a good proposition about 43% of the renewable energy today. But most of the countries which I look at, mainly the developing countries, they are all dependent on the fossil fuel. So there is coal, or there is petroleum, or there is diesel, and so on and so forth. Hydropower, the countries who are using the hydropower, there are many side effects. It's creating earthquakes. It is creating floods. Then we have to find out some alternative way of creating renewable energy. And that is the most important thing. The future enterprises must keep in mind those are existing. They will not survive unless until they create a new structure, a new processes, a new systems for running their business. The concept of the accounting is going to be changed thoroughly. Environmental accounting will take place. The social auditing is going to take place. And if we want to really achieve the goal of 2030, that 43% of the world energy must be available for renewable energy, and India has committed for it. And by 2050, we will be able to manage 50% of our energy requirement through renewable energy. And most of the countries are talking about it. So there is a concept of the GST, global stock taking. GST concepts are coming, global stock taking, not GST in the sense of GST. Global stock taking, now that is going to be a forum. So all enterprises are going to be governed by that. And most of the states who are a member of the COP, they are agreeing to that. There is a consensus. Even the small islands, they are also trying to understand it because they know their existence is going to be in trouble. So the future enterprises are going to be based on, or future entrepreneurs must be based on how do we really protect our mother planet? How do we take care not only in terms of producing of the goods and services, but those type of goods and services which are again sustainable goods and services? And what sort of possibilities must be created by the entrepreneurs, by the enterprises, so that natural resources depletions are being arrested too. That's the concept of that's a concept that is coming up very rapidly. Now you see, what I guess, hold on please, hold on. What I guess, he did not eat sustainable food. That's how this is a problem. So the conference, so the conference, would I continue or could I say? Yes. So this conference is actually going to address how the future enterprises are going to be and what sort of entrepreneurs we are looking forward today who are going to change the existing enterprises and create the new enterprises which will take care of the sustainability. And this sustainability, which has been articulated by the UN body through that 17 sustainable goal. And if we are able to manage our enterprises with sustainability, which in terms of the GDP, the industry gives, even in India, we are trying to see it is hovering around 58 to 60% of the GDP is contributed by the enterprises. So the new enterprises are to be thought of. New social enterprises are to be thought of. And which is going to be a new concept. So the sidelines of the industrial revolution, this revolution is also taking place. How to create a new enterprise, how to create a new way of doing business. What sort of entrepreneurs going to be? Many of you are going to be the future entrepreneurs. Many of you are going to see 2030, 2050. And many of you are going to run the business where you'll be working. Maybe. And you may be intrapreneurs. Means working the enterprise, but trying to bring a change within the enterprise. So this conference, I wish all good luck to Sujata, Dr. Sujata, who has taken the lead along with Punita and the faculty members. And this is the concept. Our Chancellor, sir, Dr. Utul Chauhan, our Honorable Founder President all the time says, amity should take the lead. Amity, if we cannot be the follower, we have to be leader. And who are going to be leader? It is all of you who are going to be leaders. And it is we who are going to facilitate that. This conference is again towards that facilitation process, so that your thought processes also changes by knowing what is happening around you. What is going to be the future. So that well in advance you are prepared yourself. Whether it is accounting procedures, whether it is management procedures, whether it is supply chain procedures. What are going to be changes that must be thought over so that future enterprises become sustainable enterprises. So on behalf of the MIT universe, on behalf of the founder president, on behalf of our chancellor, on behalf of the vice chancellor, on behalf of ICACCF, I once again welcome you all who are sitting on the dais, of the dais. And lastly, I like to mention, keeping this thing in mind, with the initiative of Sujata Khandai and Punita, and my another 7-8 colleagues, DP Singh is sitting over there, he's from architecture, Kobita is sitting over there in economics, Madhuri is from civil engineering, Renu Dhupar from environmental sciences, environmental studies, Dr. Rajada, Sefali Rajada from law. They have made a group. They are working on the group and they are going to create a center of sustainability in the MIT University. We are working on it and hopefully within a few months we shall be able to do that. And where we are going to address all these issues. We are going to develop all the policies, all the developing, all the strategies, all the developing, all the implementation strategies so that we can intervene for the existing enterprises and future enterprises. So I wish all the success to the organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. Indeed, we'll all work together to make this Center for Sustainability a success and try to contribute our bit to achieve the goals of sustainability. We are very delighted to share with all of you that now for Amity College of Commerce and Finance, the BCom Honors Program is ACCA accredited. Please give a big round of applause. So we have done this, and now I request Mr. Kush Ahuja, if we can present the letter of accreditation to Dr. Bandyopadhyay and our director, Dr. Sujata Khandai. So we have been working for last 2 years to get this accreditation, and this is a great day when we have done it. And since we are also working on the theme of sustainability, so ACCA is also promoting so many courses on sustainability, and many students have been inquiring and interested in doing the ACCA accredited courses along with our BCom programs. Thank you so much, Kush and the team. Now we are honored to launch the conference proceedings. So I would request all the dignitaries to do the honor by launching the conference proceeding as a book of abstract, sorry. The proceeding contains 25 extended abstracts received from the participants of the conference from pan-India and abroad, like IIM Vishakhapatnam, Central University of Jammu, St. Xavier's Kolkata, ISBR Bangalore, Middlesex University Dubai, and many more. This is published by our sponsor Ballpen Media Limited, which is a publication house specializing in offering exceptional B2B services. I request all the dignitaries to please do the honors by unfolding the book. All of you can one stand and unfold the book. Thank you so much. Please give a big round of applause. This is a big achievement. It's a contribution of all the participants of the conference which have been put together for the benefit of the all people who can read it. Ballpen Publications is owned by Ms. Upasana Gupta, Dr. Upasana Gupta, Mr. Sanjay Gupta, and Mr. Chetan Gupta. It is an immense pleasure and proud to welcome Dr. Upasana Gupta, who completed her PhD from ACCF this year only. So please give a big round of applause. She's a sponsor, she's a student, and she has helped us in bringing this book for the conference. Thank you, Upasana. So ladies and gentlemen, the one important task when we are inaugurating any conference is the keynote address on the theme of sustainability. So now I request, we are joined by Professor Axel Mark to deliver the keynote address. He's joining us online from Belgium. I hope he's there.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes. So just give me 1 minute. Let me introduce to you first to the audience. Professor Axel Marx serves as Deputy Director of Leuven Center for Global Governance Studies at KU Leuven, an interdisciplinary research hub focused on pioneering high-quality international and interdisciplinary research on global governance. With a remarkable profile, Axel has overseen 70 plus funded research projects spanning multi-team international projects like FP7 and Horizon 2020 initiatives. He's lent his expertise as a consultant to prominent entities such as the European Parliament, the European Commission, the UN, OECD, and various national governments. His academic contributions are extensive, encompassing over 200 publications across leading international journals in 10 languages. Axel editorial footprint extends to edited books and guest editor roles for esteemed journals like International Labour Review, Global Policy, and others. Beyond academia, he is engaged in educational initiatives, having crafted a massive open online courses on sustainable development goals and sustainable trade. His research pursuits span a broad spectrum from voluntary sustainability standards to EU trade policy, showcasing a deep commitment to sustainable development, human rights, and global governance. Sir, I welcome you to this conference. Now I request you to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you very much. So, welcome from my side, from early Belgium. Thank you very much for the organizers for having me to speak to this very important conference. And I want to congratulate the organizers for bringing such a diverse and very interesting number of contributions together to really discuss as we have heard this morning, key challenges related to sustainable development. I have titled my introduction or address Sustainability, Challenge, Necessity, and Opportunity. And what I want to do is to maybe give a bit of a broader context, global context, in which you as future business people will all be operating internationally. I will first go very briefly into the sustainability challenge. You have heard already quite a lot about that this morning on climate change, on the COP, on the sustainable development goals, but just want to highlight one or two aspects which are extremely, I think, important, at least if you view it from a more European perspective, which I do. Then I want to go into this notion of necessity or the changing context in which trade and investment is taking place. And I want to really show you and also clarify the different ways in which the sustainability agenda is changing the global landscape of trade and investment. And I want to focus on two elements: trade and investment agreements, where there's an increasing integration of sustainability concerns, and something which is often called autonomous measures, which basically refers to a whole series of regulatory measures which provide or use sustainability conditionality as a tool for market access. This will hopefully clarify that the context in which you will be operating is fastly changing, and that sustainability is something which has to be on top of your mind, and you need to think how to deal with it. And then the question, of course, emerges what to do. And I think there are several options for business to engage. I just want to very briefly touch upon one aspect: voluntary sustainability standards, on which we have done a lot of research and reports to show you maybe one way of dealing with this. On the sustainability challenge, we have already heard quite a lot about this morning. In Dubai, they just concluded the COP28. Besides that, of course, there are many others. Let me show you or highlight two. First, deforestation. Global deforestation and forest degradation is taking place, according to FAO and UNEP, at alarming rates. There's illegal logging, agricultural expansion, different types of activities which are leading to global deforestation. But as we all know, forests play a vital role in sustainability and life on Earth. They provide clean air and water. They help us mitigate climate change. They help us to preserve biodiversity. So dealing with deforestation is becoming top of the agenda internationally for many governments, but also for many businesses who have pledged zero deforestation commitments and others. But still, there's a lot to be done in this respect, and as I will show you a bit later, there are several initiatives developing in this area. Second, many issues related to labor rights. We still have quite a lot of reports annually coming out on a whole range of labor rights violations, which are of concern to the international community. Besides that, there are many different other sustainability challenges. And several of these challenges are related to how global trade operates, how global value chains operate, and so on. And that, of course, triggers then the quest to address these issues, a quest to think about how can we make trade more sustainable, how can we integrate sustainability concerns in different trade instruments. And there are many different trade instruments which are used by many different governments, but I want to highlight two which I think are very important and which actually showcase the importance of sustainability concerns in international trade policy. First, there are trade and investment agreements. Second, there are these autonomous measures. And I want to show you in the next couple of slides is just, I think, some data, some developments which really show you the increasing importance of sustainability defined in terms of environmental protection, defined in terms of protection of labor rights and human rights, that it's becoming more and more important. If we look at trade and investment agreements, we observe that over the last decade, there's increasing attention for sustainability. And this increasing attention for sustainability is taking the form of including sustainability, what we call sustainability provisions, in trade agreements and in investment agreements. And sustainability provisions can be on a whole range of topics and issues. The ILO, if we would follow their definition, which of course applies to the labor provisions, they look at any principle or standard which addresses labor and environmental issues as a labor and environmental provision, frameworks to monitor and foster compliance with these standards and rules and so on. It's really strong commitments in trade agreements to address social and environmental issues. And if we look at recent research and data on what's happening in this respect, then if we focus on environmental provisions, we can see that in the last couple of years, almost all trade agreements which have been concluded integrate environmental provisions, so provisions on the protection of biodiversity, provisions on climate in that trade agreement. And on the graph on the top of your screen, with a lot of blue, it basically plots the proportion of free trade agreements which include one or more environmental provisions. And if you see from 2010 onwards, there's almost in all trade agreements, there are environmental provisions. They provide a context in which to operate. Now, if we could look more closely, and this is data from Brandy and Morin in a book which was just published, if we look more closely, the number of environmental provisions, and that's on the lower chart, is also increasing significantly. So environmental provisions can include one sentence to environmental protection, but they can also include a range of commitments and a range of compliance measures. And if we look at the last couple of years, there are more than, let's say, 100 environmental provisions included in many trade agreements. And the newest, one of the newest, the US, Mexico, and Canada agreement includes 153 environmental provisions. So really showcasing the strong link between trade and environmental protection. The same trend we see if we look at labor rights provisions. And the chart you see here comes from a recent ILO report published this summer, which looks at the number of trade agreements which were signed over the last 25 years. And then the lighter blue are the trade agreements with labor provisions. The darker blue are the trade agreements without labor provisions. But here you also see an increasing attention for labor rights provisions in free trade agreements, as it's basically depicted by the red line, the cumulative number of labor rights protection. When we zoom in on investment agreements, and this comes from a study we just released, and we analyzed more than 3,200 investment agreements, there we also see a very strong increase over time in terms of protecting labor rights and investment agreements. And if we zoom in on what we call model bilateral investment treaties or model investment agreements, we see that there is also an increase in labor rights protection in terms of their, let's say, integration in investment agreements. All these stipulations, all these provisions refer to future commitments and future contexts in which you need to operate. A second major development, I think, if we look at the link between trade investment and sustainability. It's the emergence of autonomous measures. And autonomous measures does not really have a clear definition, but it's basically measures which a government develops and which basically tries to control or regulate access to the market or regulate the behavior of business in global value chains. And these autonomous measures, we can identify several around the globe, but they are very much, for instance, pushed by the current European Commission and the current European Union. And it follows a series of statements made by European leaders who really are in favor of an open and global trading system, but they really want to ensure that trade takes into account sustainability and fairness. And this reference to sustainability and fairness means that they really want to ensure that the trade activities developed on the European market apply with certain sustainability requirements. And that then, of course, sometimes takes the form of conditionality in terms of you need to comply with certain sustainability requirements to enter the market. And this has been happening in the last couple of years. And what it basically does is it puts obligations for firms to enter the European market, where the whole development, which I just showed on trade and investment agreements, is basically a state-to-state arrangement. The autonomous measures really directly target the firms, and they really want to use the power of global value chains to ensure that there is a strong commitment and also adherence to certain sustainability requirements. These autonomous measures take a variety of forms. Some are very specific. Some cover what is sometimes called sustainability due diligence, human rights due diligence, labor rights due diligence. And maybe to highlight two brief examples which are currently very much in debate on this side of the world in Europe. One is the deforestation commodities regulation, of which some of you might have heard, but that's a very new regulation which the European Commission launched this year, which basically focuses on the production of certain agricultural commodities which contribute to deforestation. If these commodities, which are then exported to the European Union, comes from places where deforestation is taking place, they are no longer allowed in the European market, putting special requirements on firms to comply with this regulation. The second one, which is currently under debate, is a ban on forced labor products. And that's basically following the regulation which is already in the US in place, but which also bans any product which was made under conditions of forced labor. And it requires companies to take action and make sure that throughout their value chains, they can detect whether forced labor is taking place, and if so, what to do. This all is based on the, let's say, requirement to install what we call, or what the OECD calls, due diligence systems. Basically, management systems within companies which allow you to identify and assess impacts on deforestation, on forced labor, on labor rights, and so on. And if you identify them in your own company or in your value chain, you need to take action to seize, prevent, or mitigate these adverse impacts, track how the implementation of results, and communicate that to a wider audience. The whole, let's say, implication of this is that within companies of the future and also companies now, you need to install and embed responsible business conduct into policies, into management systems, into your day-to-day operations. These types of due diligence measures are also in the last couple of years increasing in number and increasing in scope. And what you see on this slide is just a short timeline of some of the major developments in Europe. The graph on your right plots the cumulative evolution over the last 10 years of these types of measures. And we currently have a little database on this, and we count 35 of these measures, which will impact companies all over the world. To conclude, maybe a few reflections on what this means for business, what to do. I think you can think about many different ways to engage with sustainability. And I also think that different actors have different responsibilities in this respect. I just heard that Amity College is considering setting up a center on sustainability, and I think that's one very important initiative to already in training, in education, install sustainability. But of course, for future business people, you can also engage with sustainability in many different ways, and how you run and set up the company, but also how you engage with existing initiatives and tools which are out there and which would enable you to produce and to operate more sustainably. And I just want to highlight maybe one of these systems, which is called voluntary sustainability standards, labels, as we also sometimes call them, which have proliferated in the last 2 decades, where we now have many systems out there. Some of them are used in the context of due diligence regulations as proof of compliance with trying to make value chains and operations more sustainable. And these are one of the tools which might enable you to engage more globally. The research we have been doing on voluntary sustainability standards shows several possible ways how these standards enable trade through efficiency gains, sometimes to higher prices for producers, to via reducing of transaction costs, already complying with public standards, product diversification, and so on. Just to highlight a few elements on what these types of instruments can bring when you engage with them. They are operating on a global scale. This map shows you the distribution of voluntary sustainability standards across the globe, and the darker the colors are, the more of these standards are operating in those countries. And as you can see, India has already engaged very significantly with these voluntary sustainability standards, and they are, let's say, one way to deal with these challenges. To conclude, trade, sustainability, business. Sustainability challenges will define trade relations in the future. There's no doubt about it. We also see a tendency that trade is under stress. The IMF is already referring to globalization, a decline of international trade, or a stagnation at least. But if trade is taking place, and when it's taking place in the future, it will need to take sustainability into account. This will constitute undoubtedly many challenges for many different actors involved, but it will also provide opportunities. And engaging with these opportunities, I think, will become crucial. One way to do it is voluntary sustainability standards. There are many other ways to give shape to responsible business conduct and integrating sustainability concerns, but it's something that definitely worth thinking, reflecting, and working on in the next decades. So I wish you all a very interesting conference and good discussions. And I also hope that at the end of the conference, you really get better equipped and have more knowledge on how to deal with sustainability issues in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Exelmark. Indeed, it was very good insights you have given on sustainability. First, talking about like illegal forestation, pollution, health and safety issues. And then we came on to know about the sustainable provisions nowadays being added in all trade agreements, the labor provisions are there, and then the strong emphasis nowadays is put in on sustainability, new trade strategies also, and there is a need to install due diligence systems in all the affairs, whether it's a business affair or it's a corporate affairs or it's a government affairs. So all the very valid points you have pointed out in your presentation, which are very apt to the theme of the conference. And definitely we are, as you know, that we are starting with MIT Center for Sustainability. We are looking forward for some partnership collaboration with you and your university and your organization, so that we can take the, the idea of voluntary standards of sustainability to be implemented into the business strategies. Thank you so much once again for joining us and giving this keynote address for the sustainability conference. Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Now I request, let's move on further. Now I request Dr. Srijit Balasubramania, who has joined us from Middlesex University, Dubai. He's an associate professor and head of the Center for Supply Chain Excellence. He's also the chair of Office of Research. He has completed his PhD from Middlesex University Business School in London. He's a part of core team currently working on funded USD 200,000 project, which is a flagship project from Thailand Research Foundation on net zero emission execution and roadmap for tools for the Thai Logistics Center. His other areas of expertise include supply chain operations management, disruptive technology, sustainability, and knowledge management. Right, and it's a long list. Srijit has over 60 publications in leading academic and practitioner journal. Before moving to academia, Srijit has also served several years in industry, in telecom sector as senior roles and as IT project consultant. Welcome, Dr. Srijit.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Excellent. I know I'm standing between you and your high tea, which is already time, but I would request your patience. Ladies and gentlemen and esteemed guests here and all to the organizing committee, a warm welcome from me, my side. I'm Dr. Srijit. I'm one of the knowledge partners of the conference. I represent Middlesex University, Dubai. So my objective for today is to kind of emphasize further a bit. I think I would need the presentation. Yeah. So, I mean, all the panelists before me have very well articulated the importance of climate change. So if you allow me, I would just show you what this means in practice. Okay, so it won't take long. So my objective here is to kind of show you the significance of climate change. And we have heard about the importance. Now we can see what it means. And I'll talk this from a supply chain point of view. Just a few slides. That's what I tell my students also. Just few slides. And so I just request your patience for this. So the idea here is to kind of look at or dealing the relationship between supply chain and climate change. I'll tell you three perspectives. Okay. But before that, we have been hearing a lot about climate change, right? So what is climate change? So it's a long-term changes in temperature. So we heard about global warming. And also the change in seasons, the precipitation patterns in change. You have been hearing a lot of floods happening nowadays, and it's not by chance. And also extreme weather events. We have been hearing a lot about heat waves. We are hearing a lot about wildfires. And people that we know are also being affected now. I have a colleague who been working with me, got affected because of the wildfire in Greece. My brother lives in Melbourne, he's affected by heat waves and wildfires. So this is all happening, and it's a fact. It's no longer whether it's a question of whether you believe in climate change. It's happening in front of us. And it's a problem. And now we can see, and tomorrow you will feel about this. And we're already feeling this, right? So what is this problem? It's a connected problem, which includes economy, society, and the environment. And to see this climate change increase, which we have been talking about, this is how it is. You see, there are three colors here, which basically means land, ocean, and land and ocean combined. And you can see the biggest increase is on the land temperature. And we have been hearing a lot about the industrial revolution which caused it or which started it. And that's why you have the data from 1880, which is roughly going back 130 years back. You can see the climate change or the increase in temperature over the last 140 years. And you would be surprised if I say the value, how much it was increased. It wasn't increased, it was only increased by just about 1 degree Celsius. So why we have to worry? It's just 1 degree Celsius in the last 150 years. But if you're seeing all the repercussions of the climate change, the heat waves, because of 1 degree Celsius increase, what would happen if there is a 2 degree or a 3 degree increase in temperature? So this is why we are really talking about the climate change. And why climate change? I think we already heard from the esteemed panelist here today that it is because of carbon emission. Also about other emissions, which we collectively call as the greenhouse gas emission. But you see, it's a significant increase, and nowhere before in our history, recorded history, we have carbon emission above our current levels. That's why this is becoming very, very important, right? So you see the correlation now is the carbon emission that is causing the increase in temperature. Carbon emission means the vehicles we drive, the products we consume. So we all have an impact. Actually, I do have an impact. I flew all the way from Dubai to attend this conference. So, you know, I'm preaching, but I'm not practicing. But that's the reality. There is emission in everything we do. So as consumers, we have our collective responsibility. And that's why this climate change conference, the COP28 you've been hearing, I was there for the first 6 days. I was very actively involved in many sessions, including the global stock take. And we are still debating on what needs to be done. So the question here is, we don't want to wait for policies to happen. We don't want private sector to take the initiatives. We as individuals, we have a responsibility too. And I think once we practice these things, it's surely, you know, the companies will take notice and also the government will take notice. Should not be the top-down approach. I would say we use a bottom-up approach, because we are the ones who ultimately will get affected by the climate change. So you see here the graph, it's going up. And if I say we are trying for 1.5 degrees Celsius, this is why everyone has set the target. We have colleagues from UNDP here who said 1.5 degrees Celsius is the target. Do you see this is happening? Do you see this graph going up, will go down? Okay. Definitely not your marks. It's you know, it should be going up, but this is what we are trying to look at, trying to reduce this carbon emission to 1.5. Even if we are optimistic, if we have got lucky, it will be still 2 degrees Celsius or even 2.2 degrees Celsius. But if we don't do anything, it will go up to 4 degrees Celsius. 4 degrees will be catastrophic. 1 degree Celsius, we are already feeling the effect. Imagine what it will be 4 degrees Celsius. So this is the elephant in the room here. We are actually in a much deeper trouble than what we've been told. So I'm just here to convey the message on behalf of COP28, I would say, because, you know, it's happening in Dubai, and yesterday there were discussions going on till 3 a.m. trying to see what best countries can agree on achieving a climate. And if you look at my field of supply chain, whether I like it or not, but supply chain is always been blamed. So it's a good profession to have because you'll always get the blame. But that's okay. When COVID crisis came, it was all supply chain crisis. It was supply chain, everything was supply chain crisis. Now it's also climate change, it's also scope 3 emissions, it's supply chain, it's suppliers. So I want to look at 3 perspectives, whether is supply chain the main cause of climate change? If you look at the embedded emission, in a way it's yes, it's a cause of climate change, because the food we consume, the construction industry, the fashion, right? How many of you shop like on a weekly basis? So all of these, your electronics, right? The new models, the new iPhones that you buy, these are all causing as a factor, right? So this is one perspective. We say businesses or supply chain in general is an enabler or a cause of climate change. My second perspective is also supply chain is a victim of climate change. I know many companies closed down because they were affected by flood. I know companies that are closed down because they were affected by earthquakes. So businesses and supply chains are also victims of climate change. And if you see the numbers here, and these are from United Nations figures, we are seeing a triple or three times the number of natural calamities in the last 20 years. Even it's all been identified as a reason of climate change. Now, my last perspective here is product itself. Now, your latest iPhone, if any of you have got the chance to buy your iPhone 15, 20% of your iPhone is recycled components. So you can design a product with recycled components. You can manufacture it in a sustainable manner using 3D printing. You can transport it in a sustainable manner, maybe even using hydrogen fuel vehicles or electric vehicles. We can store in an environmental friendly warehouse, right? And importantly, we can recycle or refurbish or resell so that the product doesn't go to landfill. We can collectively use it. So this is, we call it as the circular economy concept. We don't want any products to go back to the landfill. We want that to be somehow brought back to the economy and try to use it. And last thing is the scope 3 emissions. Scope 3 emissions, you may hear because you're going to learn about sustainability reporting. Scope 3 is not the direct emissions of any business, but it's the indirect emissions. Indirect emissions of your raw materials that you buy from your suppliers. And it's up to 80%. That's why I link this to your entrepreneurship or the theme of the conference. But before that, I just want to say the COP28, which just concluded in UAE, has done the stock take. And it's going to be announced publicly, but I was part of the 3 stock take sessions happening, and it's not looking bright. So that's why we as you, especially the youth, should take the action. The time for talks are over. It's only about action. And at least the good thing about COP28 was, it was more focusing on actions and less on talks. So it's time to bridge the gaps. And in fact, this is actually, we can see from a positive light. This is just from UAE, around 200,000 jobs to be created through carbon net zero goals. So UAE has a very ambitious goal of achieving carbon emission, or net zero carbon emission by 2050. Net zero means we are minimizing the emission, and any emissions that we emit, we can recapture it. So and India also have a target of 2070. And I also had the opportunity and the privilege to be there in COP when Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi was speaking. And he also committed that India will host the COP 33, which will be in 2028. India is planning to host the COP conference as well. So in few years' time, you will have the chance to actually see what is happening in the COP 28, in the future COPs, and see how this is affecting you. I would like to conclude by saying that there is a lot of opportunities for you. I'm focusing on you as students. Many of you are planning to be aspiring entrepreneurs or work in this area. So the opportunity is enormous. You just have to find a way. It's just the mindset of sustainability that is very keen. All the interviews that you will go, companies will ask you about sustainability, about circular economy, about emissions. So you should be aware of this, right? And also, it's important that we go back to our values. So we traditionally, in India, we had sustainability values and principles. As growing up, I never got new dress. I always, my parents refused to buy. It's not reduce, reuse, or recycle. They'll give my brother's dress and they will keep it till I get it. So that's how it is. And the books, you may also have used your books of your brothers. So we have been using reuse, recycling, or even reselling old clothes or newspapers for pocket money. We've been having these values. It's all about nurturing these values. And when others are talking about these things, we have already been doing it for many years. In fact, for centuries, we have been doing this. So you just have to reflect and see how we can embed this in your daily life and your business practices. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Srijit, for bringing forward another aspect of sustainability, that is sustainability for value chain partners. So this is another very interesting aspect, and I think a lot of scope for the students to look for their profiles, to look for their careers in this particular area. Thank you so much for putting this forward. Now we have the last presenter for this particular ceremony, Dr. Mohammad Narula. He's from Kingston University University of London, UK. He has joined us online. Dr. Nurullah is Associate Professor and former Head of the Department of Accounting, Finance and Informatics of Kingston University, London. Dr. Mohammed is also a Doctoral Program Coordinator for Department and holds the membership of the Faculty's Research Degree Committee. Mohammed Nurullah joined Kingston University in 2009 from Glasgow University. Prior to that, he worked full-time for 4 years in BASE, formerly CAS Business School, City of University, London. He has written over 50 academic papers and published papers in the leading academic journals. And he successfully supervised 20 plus PhD students and acted as Chief Examiner for the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment and Institute of Financial Services, London. Welcome, Dr. Narula, to the international conference. It's over to you for the address to the audience. Please give a big round of applause.
Thank you. And can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this talk. And MIT University is always forefront in dealing with contemporary issues that goes beyond India. And thank you to the senior management of MIT University and the conference organizers, including my esteemed colleague and friend, Dr. Sujata, Dean of the Faculty of the Business. I have 3 PhD students doing PhD in the UK around this topic. So I have a lot to talk, but I have been given 10 minutes slot, and I will try my best to finish within 10 minutes. However, if I exceed 10 minutes, please shut me up. So let me share I have also a few slides. Let me see if I can share with you. I hope you can see the slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The slides are visible.
So this is a business transformation for sustainable entrepreneurship and value creation. So the sustainability of business transformation is not new. Schumpeter.
Sir, you can make it a full slide show.
Sure. Can you see now?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, it's fine.
So the Schumpeter, who is known for father of entrepreneurship, he coined the word creative destruction, i.e. the prompt new business to replace the old. But the sustainability is needed for this. And in my talk, I have differentiated business sustainability with sustainability in business. So first half of my talk will be business sustainability, then sustainability in business. So business sustainability is a business model plan for making a profit sustainability. And on the other hand, the sustainability for business is doing business without negatively impacting environment, community, or society as a whole. So there are dual challenges in the context of SDG and ESG compliances. Business are facing dual challenge: financial viability with being socially and environmentally responsible. At the same time, the Industry 4.0 or the convergence of physical and virtual world has created opportunities as well as challenges for business sustainability. So for business sustainability, we need a new business model like circular economy. So transformation of a linear economy to a circular economy for sustainability, i.e. like 3 R's, like reduce, reuse, and recycle. Secondly, the skills and the professional development empowered by technology such as AI and machine learning will enable to make data-driven strategy and decision making faster than ever to deliver sustainable positive change. And then the green finance, which I will talk if time allows in a second. Also the innovation, both product and process innovation drives for transformation. And that requires for change management for sustainability. So one of my PhD students is working on change management and transformation. So change management, it was coined by Kurt Lewin in his 3-step models in 1947. And the management accounting, again, the coined by James Bliss of 1950, are the two set of tools in assisting management in formulating strategies, policies, and monitoring this implementation. So these are the two core pillars for sustainable transformation management. And at government level, a proactive monetary policy with prudent fiscal policy for stability and sustainability. And the good example is the USA's most recent Inflation Reduction Act with the 430 billion US dollar. And this act has a kind of have a big headache to European governments because a lot of European companies are now thinking of shifting their business from Europe to North America in order to capture this large fund. So they are trying to get the exemption like Canada or Mexico. If not, then the matter may raise to the WTO in the near future. But the condition is the product has to be green product and it has to be produced in the US soil in order to get the fund. At global level, the global harmonization and standard settings and the active support for developing countries as well. Now, the value creation for business transformation. So value creation is commonly used in strategic management and marketing literature like value proposition, value creation, and value delivery by utilizing 6 P's. So another of my PhD is doing PhD on electronic word of mouth or word of mouth for the value creation. And this can be measured probably through EVA method. And IBRA has conducted a comprehensive systematic literature on business model innovation through Industry 4.0 and found 9 main requirements for transformation. So these are self-explanatory. Slides are there. You can have a look at it later on. And also the Getzenberg also have conducted another comprehensive study on sustainable business model innovation and identified 4 types of sustainable business innovations with another 4 types of sustainable business model types with 9 types of sustainable business strategies. Again, you can have a look at the slides are available, already passed. So that was my first part. The second part, I will be talking about the sustainability in business because the world is getting warmer. The previous speakers have simultaneously highlighted to that one. So for sustainability in business, I will look at from the social contract theory point. So for sustainability, many dimensions it has, and a link to the social contract theory that has for last 400 years in Europe, the philosophers like Rousseau, Locke, and Hobbes highlighted in the context of life, liberty, and property, these 3 cardinal rights. Also the social justice, where the theory of justice as fairness and the freedom to achieve well-being in terms of people with capabilities. So the conflicting nature between the social justice and the shareholder theory gave birth to the UN 6 Principles for Responsible Management Education, the PRAM, the UN's 10 Global Compact Principles for Corporate Sustainability and Investment, and the UN's 17 SDGs and ESG reporting. So the green finance that I mentioned earlier, the UN and the high-level climate action champion research has stated that 125 trillion US dollar climate change investment is needed by 2050 to meet the net zero. So that will be an opportunity for business, particularly for the SMEs. UK's net zero emission economy by 2050, and the EU has a plan to be the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And they have already developed the EU Sustainable Finance Framework in response to Paris Climate Agreement. And for the developing countries, there's already Green Finance Climate Fund. The goal is to raise at $100 billion. Apart from that, the Adaptation Fund and the Global Environment Trust Fund, and the most recent this week, in COP28, the Loss and Damage Fund. So that's my last one. Well, there's another of my PhD students working on the climate change risk on credit risk. So the risk management is more important than ever for sustainability in business under uncertainty. So the adaptation of risk management framework, like identification of risk, analysis of risk, risk mitigation, risk retention, and risk transfer through traditional route or through alternative route like ART or ERM, enterprise risk management. And that's the evolution of regulation on sustainability reporting. So the UK's mandatory requirement for climate change reporting under the standards of the climate change related financial disclosure, TCFD, for all FTSE 350 listed companies. And at EU level, the EU's Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive has already been adopted in 2022. That is mandatory for all the EU countries. And the Basel-based task force on climate-related financial disclosure for ESG reporting, and also the task force on the nature-related financial disclosure was launched in June 2021. That got global endorsement from G7 and G20 countries. And also the International Sustainability Standard Boards for IFRS standards. And locally, in India, the Securities and Exchange Board of India's circular in 2017 encouraged Indian listed companies to adopt integrated reporting. So one of our empirical work, it shows that the perception of the preparers towards integrated reporting in India is generally positive. And the KPMG is a survey, one of the largest surveys they have conducted, also shows the growing reporting on sustainability into their reporting. So the big picture is the 2030 agenda for SDGs has set out an aspiration of life with dignity for all, with another aspiration, leave no one behind. So business transformation for sustainable entrepreneurship, including entrepreneurship ecosystem, and the value creation are the key to achieve these aspirations. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Narula. I think indeed it was a great presentation touching upon all the themes of the conference, all the aspects of the conference. You talked about business transformation, the value creation, and how it is the need of the hour. And you also talked about the new business model, the circular economy, how it is required for the reduce, reuse, and recycle, the new innovations, the change management which is required, and we all need to come together so that we can achieve these sustainable business models and sustainability in business with the use of ESG reporting, integrated reporting, and green finance. Thank you so much for giving all the inputs regarding the conference. So With this, we have covered all the speakers for the inaugural session. Before I request Palvi, the co-convener of the conference, to give the vote of thanks, we would like to show you one small video on sustainability with our partner Paper Nest, how they are working on the cause of sustainability, making the paper without cutting the trees. Ladies and gentlemen, a small video for that.
Why cut trees for paper when it can be made from waste generated from garment units? Let us introduce you to someone who is paving their way to sustainable living. This is Paper Nest, an organization born out of a passion for recycling waste and creating paper products made using tree-free handmade paper. By using 1 ton of traditional handmade paper, they are able to save up to 17 fully grown trees cut for making paper. Paper Nest founder, Nancy Gupta, is a visionary entrepreneur who has combined her passion for creativity, sustainability, and the art of papermaking to establish this unique and thriving venture. This thinking has made them create beautiful, sustainable, stationery products such as journals, notebooks, planners, and gift packs. Collaborating closely with skilled artisans from rural areas, they have been able to breathe new life to this ancient craft. By choosing Paper Nest, we are not just creating, but rather preserving the beauty of the world. Let's together be kind to trees and support them.
So this is how we have our partner doing a bit for the sustainability, and we are also taking this.
Fueling the growing aspirations of its people and driven by rapid development of infrastructure.
Okay, now we come to the end of the inauguration ceremony. Now I request our co-convener, Dr. Pallavi, to give the vote of thanks.
Dear dignitaries on and off the dais, dear students, participants, researchers, scholars, and my dear colleagues, thank you for your patience throughout the inaugural session. A warm and gracious welcome to each one of you on the first day of international conference organized by Amity College of Commerce and Finance. A sincere thank you to our esteemed chief guest, Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi, for gracing us with his presence and sharing valuable insights. His commitment to addressing climate changes inspires us all. We are honored to have Mr. Kush Ahuja, Head ACCA India, as our guest of honor. Thank you, sir, for your continued support. The presentation of ACCA Accreditation Certificate for BCom program marks a significant milestone, and we are grateful for your contribution to our academic endeavor. Despite the virtual realm, our sincere thanks to Dr. Axel Marx, Leuven University, Belgium, for delivering a keynote address that broadened our global outlook. A special appreciation goes to Dr. Srijit Balasubramaniam, Head Center for Supply Chain Excellence, Middlesex University, Dubai, for a special address providing valuable insights into the dynamics of supply chain management. Our sincere thanks also goes to Dr. Mohammad Nurullah from Kingston University, London, for sharing his expertise with us, even in the virtual space. A special acknowledgement to Dr. D.K. Bandyopadhyay for his special address enriching our understanding and perspective. Our heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Founder President Sir Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, Honorable Chancellor Dr. Atul Chauhan, and Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Balvinder Shukla, who are not here present with us in an offline mode, but their blessings and good wishes are always the source of inspirations for all of us. Last but not the least, Dr. Ivan Jupik. He is always a continuous source of strength for the ACCA. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We look forward to the continued success of the conference and hope to carry forward the momentum of learning and collaboration. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Pallavi. I request all the guests and dignitaries to join us for the high tea in the F2 lounge area. And I request all the student volunteers to please guide them to F2 launch. We'll be starting with the next session at 12:10. It's a 10-minute break for the high tea. The students can go for their respective classes. The allotted students can go to the F1 seminar hall. Thank you one and all for your presence in the conference opening
its growth
ceremony.
like never before. An inspiring reflection of India's economic progress is the burgeoning countrywide demand for modern high-end cars. Indian Oil, India's leading fuel brand, has been fronting the development of innovative products backed by its world-class R&D to meet the fast-changing needs of customers. To fuel the aspirations of the upwardly mobile car enthusiasts and to accelerate their car's high performance, Indian Oil has led the path to bring for the first time in the country a high-performing and the best-in-class premium fuel. XP100, 100-octane premium petrol. Indian Oil's XP100 premium petrol with superior anti-knock properties improves engine power with faster acceleration, enhances fuel economy and offers better drivability with increased engine life. Equally heartening is the positive impact it would make for a healthy and cleaner environment with reduced carbon emissions. Its low benzene content will drastically reduce carcinogenic emissions and its low aromatic content will reduce suspended particulate matter, thereby improving the air quality. Indian Oil's XP100 premium petrol is the first such fuel being launched in India.